All right, we're here for the Week 4 press conference with defensive coordinator, inside linebackers coach Peter Sirmon prior to Washington. Pac-12 opener on Saturday in Seattle. We'll go ahead and get questions started with Jeff Ferrato.
Good morning, Peter. How you doing?
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm all right. So are you having nightmares as you watch tape of Washington and all the ways they can attack a defense?
Well, I think nightmares would be under the assumption that I'm sleeping. Yeah, while I'm awake, I'm having nightmares. They're an extremely talented team with it's one thing having talent, but it's another thing to have the talent playing together. They're extremely well coached. They do a fantastic job of designing, I think, the system around their players and really utilizing those players exceptionally well.
All right, we'll go to Steve Croner from the SF Chronicle.
Peter, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks. I asked this to Justin. I'll throw it out to you as well. In general terms, is it harder, easier to go against a quarterback such as Penix, who isn't quite the mobile guy, say, that Bo Nix or Caleb Williams is, but is a dart thrower? Seems like he rarely is throwing an inaccurate pass, or somebody like a Nix or Williams. Well, Williams is pretty darn accurate too, who might not have quite the accuracy, but is more mobile.
I think you're probably. I don't know if it even matters. It's the accuracy. It's kind of the style of play. Both are exceptionally hard. You see that the guys that can escape pressure in the college football game are elite guys, just because typically the defensive line, you don't have enough athletes that can tackle that type of player in college. You see it, it changes a little bit in the NFL when you have a different style of athlete on the defensive line, and a little bit of different style of play calling in the NFL, where it's more of a throw game on some of those, 3rd and 3 turns into a throw game, which isn't necessarily true in college football. But I'd say guys that can throw the ball accurately are as concerning as guys that are elusive. An accurate thrower, they can uncover covered players. You can throw the ball in areas that is nearly impossible to defend, and that becomes an issue all on its own.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to Jim McGill from Bear Insider.
Hey, Peter, the Idaho quarterback was having a surprising level of success throwing the ball, especially in critical positions in the first half. What changed so much? Did you make adjustments later on, or what was the reason for the stark difference in play?
We made a few tweaks. The guy did a heck of a job versus single high. He took some. We didn't do a good job on some single slants on X with middle field closed. It was really, I thought we could have played those plays a little bit better. And quite honestly, I got a little frustrated, and I kept calling some things because I wanted to see us compete. I wanted to see us win some X shots. And then as we got into the game a little bit, I think I had to become a little more adaptive and maybe a little less hard-headed, and gave him some different pictures to kind of help support that single side. And then I thought the guys, played a little bit technique a little bit better. But those first 3 drives were extremely frustrating, and we talked about it at halftime. Talked about it when I addressed the defense. That was something that is uncharacteristic, and we have to play to we have to play to our capacity. If you're a good player, you need to play good. If you're not a good player, then I don't expect you to play good. But the guys that are in there have enough talent to do what I'm asking them to do, I believe, and we just have to get into a point where the consistency the consistency of how we play matches what I believe our ability level is.
All right, we'll go to Thomas Dunn from Redford, California.
Good morning, Peter. Can you just describe the bind the linebackers will be in this week from having to commit themselves to the run game and being at the second level versus all the crossing routes that Washington has, and then eventually having to cover a tight end that may leak out over the middle?
I think everybody's going to have their set of issues this weekend. Just looking at the statistics, what Coach Grubb and Coach DeBoer have done up there. I mean, guys, they're at 9.5 yards per play. I mean, just take that in consideration of what that is. That is unbelievable on the production of the yards per play. So I think everybody is going to be have the ability to be in some predicaments. But in regards to the inside backers, I mean, yeah, there'll be some opportunities for them. Some of if they're running the ball effectively, it can make an issue when they do take some of their design shots and they protect it up and push the routes down the field. We got to do a good job of, instructing what the call is. If you're playing zone through it, if you're playing man through it, and kind of the different techniques that you use if you do transition from run action to drop back.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and start the second round of questions now and go back to Jeff Verrado from Cal Sports Report.
I'm wondering, Peter, how much confidence you get from the fact that you guys played them really tough last year. I think they scored 28 points, which probably is more than you want to give up, but it's a lot fewer than they normally score. Does that give your guys and you some confidence that you can do something against this team?
I think that we feel we match up well versus a lot of the teams in the conference. There's a lot of very talented teams, and you look at statistically, I was looking at the yards per play. I mean, we're staring at, I think, 3 of the top 3 in America of yards per play right now are living in our conference. So it's a great challenge, but we're not going into this game not believing that we can't go out there and compete. I hope that there's not a single team out there in America that has to make up the opportunity to think that you can go out there and compete versus a team. They're a very, very talented offense, and they're extremely well coached, but we're excited about the opportunity. We're going to get our guys ready, and I feel good about the guys that we have to go out there, and I think they have the capacity to go out there and play very well.
And you guys have been exceptional at taking the ball away. I think you're sharing the national lead with 10 takeaways. How important is that going to be in a game like this where they are so prolific to just take it from them a few times?
That's the number one indicator in winning and losing, is the times you have the ball. And then when, if we do have the opportunity to get the ball away, playing complementary football and be able to take advantage of it. And at the same time, if our offense, if they take the ball away from our offense, we have to go out there. And I think that's something we can improve on, is, what we do after sudden change. I think we can do a better job of forcing kicks, getting to punt situations instead of PAT situations. But takeaways are huge. And I think the guys have been fantastic. I thought the Auburn game in particular, you saw guys actively trying to punch the ball out with the forced fumbles. Sometimes the interceptions come in batches, but rarely do you see a lot of intentional fumbles being forced. And I thought that's as good a sign as I've seen from the group as anything.
And on a different topic slightly, they don't seem to allow any sacks. I think Penix has been sacked once, the other guy once. Does that impact how you approach defending them? Do you feel like you can get to them, or do you feel like they're not going to give up many and maybe we need to go with a different scheme?
Well, there's a lot of different ways of looking at that. I know Coach Huff does a great job, first of all, identifying O-linemen, in raising them up and developing them in that system. And then they play hard. They play with really good bend. They play with punch. You see guys on some of the bumps, knocking people to the ground. They clean up piles. So they do a really nice job of protecting the quarterback. But we'll have to rush through them sometimes. And if they want to have some deeper concepts and add some additional players to the protections, then we got to kind of scratch and claw and fight our way through that. There's a lot of different ways of approaching that. But the first thing is, they do a great job of protecting the quarterback and protecting the football. And those are things that, as an offense, I mean, you're starting off on the right page if you can be proficient in both of those.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go back to Jim McGill from Bear Insider.
Obviously, defense is a team game, but you're facing what seems to be an unusually elite quarterback and receiving crew. How are your DBs approaching this? Are they looking at it as a challenge and a litmus test for where they are at this point in the season?
They're good. Yeah, they are, Jim. They're looking for it as a great accepted challenge. When you come to college football, you want to play against the finest players that are available to compete against, and that's what we're fixing to get into here for the next 8 or 9 weeks is playing against some of the most talented offenses in America. Led by some of the most talented offensive play callers in America, and this is what the Pac-12 is right now. This is what the West Coast football is, and if you're not here to enjoy that facet of what the Pac-12 has to offer, then these games aren't for you. But I think the guys that are here in our program are really excited about playing against the best, and I think this group is as good, if not the best, that we'll face all year. And that's not a slight on anybody else, because like I said, there's some extreme talent. NIL has done the offensive side of the ball well. You don't need to go to the NFL anymore to be compensated for high quality players. So those guys can stay in college, continue to develop, and they can continue to retain their talented players, and you're seeing a great on the field product because of it.
All right, we'll wrap this up with one last question from Steve Croner from the SF Chronicle.
Yeah, Peter, last year we talked before Jackson went against Washington, and I know Jackson probably better to answer this than you, but you're his dad. I'm sure you get some sense. Do you think it's a bigger deal for Jackson this year because he's playing the Husky Stadium, or do you think it was last year because it was the first time?
Steve, actually, we haven't visited about that at all. That's probably, you're right, a better question for him. And anytime that you play against your buddies, didn't matter if you're grow up in the same small town, or you have a crosstown rival, people. I think it's always a special time. But I really haven't visited with him about him returning back to Husky Stadium. I imagine that there'll be some good memories there that he's had, and hopefully he plays his tail off and he gets to say hello to some of his buddies.
Thank you.
All right, we actually do have one more question. We'll go back to Jeff Ferrado.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about Rome Odunze? They've got three really good receivers, but he seems to be head and shoulders better than maybe anybody in the conference, or as good as anybody in the country, perhaps. What makes him so good? And have you seen anybody that compares with him?
I think all three of them, I think you're right, Jeff, are very, very talented. I think Rome has size, he has speed, and he has an unbelievable catch radius. I think that probably what really distinguishes him. And I don't know what the NFL prospects and all that stuff are, but I mean, there's really not that I've seen a ball that's within his reach that he can't come down with. He does a fantastic job of high pointing the ball. He makes competitive catches. And when they take their shots down the field by design, Penix feels very comfortable really throwing all three of those guys, and all three of those guys have been exceptional of climbing up and coming down with those competitive balls. But I think they all have good size. They all have enough stature that they can't get pushed around. Where sometimes that you see a highly productive player in college doesn't quite have the stature, and if you can put your hands on somebody, it really kind of disrupts them. All three of these guys have enough strength to run through some handsy DBs, if you're trying to be physical with them. So, it's a challenge to, typically a team has one, but for them to have three with the offensive line play, and then, the Westover, Jack Westover, he's catching touchdowns and he's all over the field as well.
Thank you.